and welcome to Travel Talk. This is Mary Pat Sullivan, here today joined by our editorial leads. Very excited to talk about trends in the global travel industry. So today we're going to start the conversation talking about Asia. All right, folks, welcome. And Soo-Hoon, can you talk to us a little bit about what Asia fully reopening means for the global travel industry?
Firstly, Mary, I'm really excited that you're opening this series with Asia. And secondly, it's a great start to the year. As you know, we were first in and last out of the pandemic. And finally, with the China reopening, we are fully back. Asia is fully back in 2023. This Sunday, we will celebrate, January 22nd, we will celebrate the Lunar New Year. And it's the year of the water rabbit. So we are all looking towards a happy, bouncing rabbit that's full of joy and bringing travelers back across Asia. So the news is really, really good right now in Asia.
That's fantastic. I love the water rabbit reference. So Soo-Hoon, talk to us a little bit about, post-pandemic, the traveler has changed. The trends have changed. So what are you seeing in terms of what the travelers are expecting for the year ahead and what kind of changes in the marketplace?
Well, firstly, I wouldn't say it's post-pandemic because actually we're still very much in the pandemic. This morning, I attended a media conference by the Singapore Tourism Board and basically announcing their 2022 results. And basically, Singapore exceeded its targets. It received 6.3 million visitors. It's still only a third of what 2019 was. But, all that just came in probably in the last quarter. And for this year, they are projecting between 12 and 14 million arrivals, which is almost 3/4 of 2019. Singapore is a good example of what the trends are, okay? And you were asking me about the changing customer trends. So what Singapore saw was, for example, longer stays. So between April to December last year, the average length of stay was 4.8 days. When normally it's 3.3 days. Last year, we had revenge travel from Southeast Asia, from India, and from Australia. And this year, we will see revenge travel from the North Asian markets, with China leading. So I think this will take us through to the whole of 2023. In terms of customer trends, I think we're seeing pretty much the same trends globally. People wanting deeper experiences, more authentic experiences, right? And smaller groups, more customized itineraries. Big focus on wellness. Asia is fantastic for wellness retreats.
And we're going to bring our U.S. team in here, Rebecca and Eric, to talk a little bit because, Soo-Hoon talked about revenge travel. I think we're almost beyond that here in the States, and with Asia opening up, what do you guys think is going to happen in your markets?
A little bit. I mean, you look at the U.S. traveler right now, they're excited to get back to Asia. There's certain destinations that have been on their radar, and the global travel tourism sector can't thrive until Asia is back and fully thriving on that. So it's just more revenue opportunities for travel advisors right now to get their clients back out to Asia at the moment.
Is revenge travel over? It's so hard to say. I don't think so. I still feel like there's that long tail of, pent-up demand. And since many U.S. travelers or North American travelers, many travelers have not been able to go to Asia, there's so much pent-up demand for certain areas of Asia. So you're going to have that second or third wave of travelers there this year, I think.
And the length of travel, I think that's where Asia is really an opportunity for the travel advisor community now because people are taking these longer trips, right?
And if you think about, airfare costs, especially to Asia, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go, you might as well go ahead, bite the bullet, buy that ticket, and then stay for, pretty much as long as you can. And there's another trend that's happening here. And Soo-Hoon, I'm wondering if it's the same for you, but it's this hybrid work and vacation options. So if you can go someplace, if you can travel somewhere and then tack on some work time in the evenings or for a couple of days. Eric, you've probably seen the same thing.
We saw that with a lot of American travelers last year going to Europe and doing that. So now they're going to jump over to Asia and say, yeah, give me my 2-week vacation. I'm going to go to Japan. I'm going to go to China. I'm going to maximize my time and my vacation possibilities.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think there are some destinations in Asia that are pitching for what they call the remote workers and digital nomads, right? So Bali was among the first to really say we are issuing a digital nomad visa. I think Thailand has come on board with it. Malaysia is coming on board with it. And Japan is looking at it.
Let's talk about specific destinations. Soo-Hoon mentioned a few there. She mentioned Bali. She mentioned Singapore. What do you think are going to be the hot Asia destinations this year?
Certainly Japan.
Japan.
Yeah, Japan all the way. It's, people wanted to go there for the Olympics, and you couldn't do that very well. So it's just been on the radar for so many people for so long now. And then obviously Thailand. You mentioned the visa extension there. They did add they're adding this summer a tourist fee. I think it's like $12, but I don't think that will impact that much. I mean, so do you think there are going to be a lot more Asia destinations adding the fees, the tourist fees?
I doubt it, I think they really want travel to come back. I think this is the year where, there are no more reasons to hold travelers back, right? Until maybe something else happens. But I think destinations are actually opening up to travelers with, welcoming them with open arms from every place, yeah.
So Soo-Hoon, you're a tech expert with web and travel. Can you talk a little bit about what you think some of the technology trends are that are impacting international travel?
Well, I think if China is the word to start 2023, then the other word is ChatGPT, and I think that's kind of taking the whole world by storm, right? I'm sure it's happening in the US and it's happening in Asia. And it was very interesting this morning at the press conference. You had Keith Tan, the CEO of Singapore Tourism Board, who kind of jested and said, "Oh, I want to say that this press release was not generated by ChatGPT." So I think it's coming into mainstream lingo now. And I did ask the CIO, the chief technology officer of STB, how he thought about how AI GPT would impact travel providers. Because certainly, it is amazing what it can do. I've been playing around with it. And one of the top things that he says was productivity. Because everywhere is suffering from a talent crunch, right? And so if you know how to use this Chat GPT, it can really improve your productivity. Under chatbot customer service, how you could train the bot to handle customer service. So I think the field is wide open right now.
I like the idea of it being supportive, productivity-wise, not intermediary, right? Not taking away a role from somebody. What do you guys think?
So our editor-in-chief, Arnie Weissman, recently wrote a column, and he sort of test drove ChatGPT by trying to ask it to generate an itinerary for a traveler. And his takeaway was that it's not there yet. It's not replacing a travel advisor, and especially the kind of back and forth that a travel advisor would be able to really get in deep with their clients and really suss out what it is that they want out of a vacation. And I'd say, and it's not able to do that yet.
Right.
So I agree with Soo-Hoon. I think that everybody you want to explore the technology and you want to understand it. And you need to understand what it can do and then what it can't. And then you can get into that spot of making it be productive for you, but not replace you, I suppose.
Yeah, you certainly can't ignore the AI right now.
Right.
Dip your toes in it, find out, experiment with it. But as far as building an itinerary and all that, you still want the human experience with that. It's still in its infancy, if you will. But when we talk about travel and tech and everything, you have to talk about airline biometrics and making the traveler experience easier and seamless. And coming here, to the headquarters here to shoot this video and stuff, I saved at least 30 minutes because I did the digital ID, and even TSA PreCheck. There's too many people in TSA PreCheck now, but that line was extremely long, and digital ID saved me at least 20 minutes on that. So I think airline biometrics, the facial recognition stuff, you're gonna see a lot more of that coming up in the tech space. I know South Korea just implemented stuff with the smart airport traffic there, so I think you're gonna see a lot of that in the coming years too.
Yeah, Soo-Hoon.
Yeah, I think in Asia too, I think you're gonna see destinations experiment with the metaverse, as well as a lot more robotics, for efficiency and productivity. Asia is also entering, the gray zone, aging population, talent crunch. So I think that the focus on that technology, and the Singapore Tourism Board has created a virtual Singapore in the Central Land with Millennium Hotels. And I was told today that the Millennium, which was selling Merlion packages on the Central Land, it exceeded their sales targets on the Central Land. So, and then you have Sentosa, which is the little island off Singapore, also building something in the metaverse based on Roblox. So I think you're going to see destinations try these new platforms to really reach broader audiences, not existing audiences, but to reach broader audiences.
So we have three of the brightest minds here with us today. So let's talk a little bit. What do you think is going to shape the industry in the year ahead?
Well,
Let's go to Rebecca first.
No, that's okay, Eric. You take that one.
sure. I mean, she hit on some of the big ones. Obviously, the transformational travel, the chasing experiences, seeking the new. I think that's going to be the big one, and especially in Asia, the wellness. You can't ignore that they're really on the top of their game out there in the wellness space.
We hear some people object to the term bucket list.
Life
but
list.
I do. Okay, life list. Is that that's a good
more
one.
positive
That's a good-
spin on
Yeah,
it,
I like
right?
that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, but the idea that people are still catching up to some of those the experiences that they didn't get during some of the most serious lockdowns and travel restrictions, and not wanting to waste any more time. You don't really know what the year is going to bring, so we hope for a lot of these great things that we're seeing. I always feel like I have to slide that caveat in, right?
The just in
Just-
case. But that's the whole idea behind bucket list doesn't really exist because people realized, oh my God,
Yeah.
the world can just stop on a dime. So I'm not waiting. I'm going to go take that trip to Japan I've always wanted to take.
Yes.
Anything you want to share in there, Suhoon?
More conscious travelers kind of measuring their own carbon footprint, So, for example, people coming to our conferences in long haul from the US and Europe, they start to ask me questions like, what else can I do around your conference? And so almost event organizers like us, we put on events, we may have to come up with ways, for people to maximize their time instead of just coming to our conference for 2 days. What else can we recommend for them to do? What else can we do some micro events so that it makes their time worthwhile? So I think planned and purposeful travel will be a big thing, I think, for the next couple of years.
So let's just talk about China. We're talking about Asia being open and we're talking about all these opportunities, but I think there's a little bit of clearing up we need to do here about what exactly the opportunities are for travelers in China. So Suhoon, let's start with you.
We've waited 3 years for China to fully reopen, and I think people were surprised, most people were surprised by how sudden the lifting of restrictions was. There is a lot of excitement, but there is some fear, of course. Because remember when the US first opened, when Singapore first opened, we went all through that anxiety, right? So it's really natural. I think it will all settle down in the next 3 months. Okay, because the travel right now in China is gonna be domestic. There's Lunar New Year. It is the biggest traveling period in China right now. So they're gonna travel domestically as much as possible. The Chinese government has also said that it will look at outbound travel in a careful, calibrated way in how they issue visas and all that. So I don't think you're gonna see this massive rush out, and also remember, airline capacity is not back, right? Even with Singapore, the air capacity is only 10% of what it used to be.
So that navigating it from a travel advisor perspective, like what are they sharing with their clients in terms of China?
Well, yeah, speaking to a lot of travel advisors before this, they're looking at, they know that their clients still want to go to China. It's on the list, the life list, the bucket list, if you will. People want to see the Great Wall, that they want to experience that. But I think a lot of them are just cautious right now, and they're looking, clients-wise, they're looking maybe towards the fall, maybe thinking about other Asia destinations, at least for this year, if they want to go to Asia. And then I think you'll see a bigger resurgence for China in 2024.
We heard a lot of reports in China that various cities would be locked down when COVID outbreaks occurred, and people don't want to travel someplace where they fear that may happen. So I think you'll need some time to kind of work out what's possible and what's not. And then we can also talk about the inbound market from China to here. That Suhoon, how long will that take before? You were saying already that it will take time.
To really find out the answer, I actually asked our partner from Travel Daily China, Charlie Lee, to give us an audio take, of how he felt things were on the ground last week. And basically, again, he said it would take time because you need air capacity to come back. You need airfares to really come down because it's really, really expensive. The economy is in bad shape. So, the ordinary man on the street might not be able to afford to travel long haul. So basically, they are thinking that it will be initially first, the short haul destinations. So Singapore is definitely banking big on China. Thailand, for example, Malaysia. So all these neighboring countries, Korea, South Korea, Japan, right? So I think travel, the first wave will be really kind of short haul, right? Just as when the US first opened, everything was domestic, then short haul, and then it went Europe and then Asia, right? So I think we can learn from what happened the last 2 years.
Chinese travelers spent a lot of money and they stayed longer when they were here. So I think that, the US will be very eager to welcome China travelers when they are ready to come back.
I also hope that with China opening up, that we remember what it was like for us when our country first opened up and we went out to travel. And I do hope that the world will really welcome Chinese travelers with empathy, because they have been through the toughest time compared with all of us, And so I know many friends in China who really have been traumatized by the really, really strict lockdowns of last year. And so I hope that when they do come to our land, that we welcome them with open arms and empathy.
Yeah, and watching what we've all been through in all the other countries that have opened up, it's a valid point. It's going to take some time, but it is exciting to see Asia opening up. Suhoon, we're going to keep following you and your reports and information from Asia, and we're really excited, guys, to keep having these conversations. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both for joining this conversation.
Thank you.